steps I took.
Back again in the building.
In the Dubai studio.
Mm-hmm.
Coming with wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Coming with, oh wait, who are you?
I'm Jevanni Letford.
I'm Achasah Weinreb.
Nice
and
of you.
And you have come to the Steps I Took podcast.
The podcast that delves into the journey and the steps that people have taken towards success. But today, Achasah, is a little different.
Yeah, because whose success are we talking about, Jevanni?
We're talking about ours, man.
Our success. And do you know what? I'm not going to lie. When I was filling out the questionnaire form that we give to all of our guests, I was like, oh God. I don't know. Do I have answers for this?
Yeah, I was like, how do you define failure? I was like filling it out as I was on the go as well. And I was just like, I'm sure that there's more to say, but you know, I just kind of just was like, yeah, let me send it off and see what happens.
Yeah. See what happens.
So who have we got asking us the questions today, Achasah?
We have the woman that is tying everything together in my life right now. We have the phenomenal Harleigh Reid in the building.
Welcome.
Like she's not usually in the building.
I
She's quite often in the building, but today she's
I'm
in front of the camera.
Front and center.
Yeah.
Front and center, but not for long, because this podcast is about you guys. For listeners, this is a podcast I've been trying to get you guys for a while. It's hard to get guests in the studio, let alone get you guys in the studio on your effectively downtime. So it's good that we've got this going on. I am the glue that holds Achasah's head on her shoulders at the moment. But aside from that, I'm a content creator, podcaster myself, and currently work with both Jevanni and Achasah in different ways. Both of you here on Steps I Took, and then Achasah separately with the enterprise that I'm sure she'll get into at some point on this podcast, Women Who Thrive. So there's a tradition on this podcast.
Oh.
If you're unfamiliar, we like to start by asking our guests what a highlight of the last 7 days were. So Achasah, I'll start with you. What was a highlight of your last 7 days?
On Saturday, after one of the events, I took the afternoon to just be at home. I watched Ginny and Georgia in the middle of the day. Watching Netflix in the middle of the day on a Saturday is like, what?
Everyone seems to be watching this Ginny and George.
You need to watch Ginny and Georgia. It's lit. And then I just painted. Like I had canvases in there. Actually, I did get some canvases on Noon Minutes. And then I found some more canvases that I already had in the house. And I got my paints out, had like gold foil, all these different things, had plastic aprons, everything. Just changed my living room into like this painting studio. And made
I didn't
nice
even know you painted.
I don't.
That's why I guess this is a good idea to do this.
Delve a little deeper.
No, I don't usually paint. I'm not a painter, but I do like to get creative and I like to like just mess about, muck around.
Fair.
It was nice. And it was a really nice, and at the end of the day, I was like, wow, so this is what people do. They
On the
just
weekend.
stay in their
Surprising,
home.
isn't it?
Yeah. No.
I agree. Even when you
liked it.
told me that, I knew that you had done this painting, and I was like, where'd you find time for that then?
I had things to do. I just didn't do them.
Giovanni, what's your highlight of the last 7 days?
For me, it's an easy one. It's I managed to take the step to launch Jev's Coffee Jam.
Pun intended.
Yeah, literally.
Steps.
Yeah. Like, you know, it just came about like organically. Like it's been something that's been on my mind for a while. Like I've DJed at coffee parties before. We went to Raj's the other day, and then like I was just having a chat with a lady in my gym, and then it turned out that she was also wanting to do one, and we were just like, let's just do it together, and it's just kind of come together really well. And yeah, I'm excited because it's a one-off, it's a pop-up, so it means I can put more time and effort into it. So
One
I'm really,
particular,
yeah.
No.
That's why it's good to talk, because you don't know who's going to be able to help you with what you want.
Exactly. So those are the last 7 days. But on this podcast, you know, we like to take things back. So I'm going to throw things all the way back to your very early years. Now, early years is actually a phrase that I feel like I've picked up from Achasah, which is a part of the story which we'll get to in a bit. But your early years, you often ask, you know, people about their very, very early years. I was under the impression, Achasah, that you were a Londoner all this time until I've had some off-air conversations with you and realised that you're not. So where did you grow up, for everyone else that thinks you might have been a Londoner? And then growing up there versus what you thought London was. How did that happen for you?
I was born in London. I was born in Whitechapel. My mum is a Londoner, so I'm not completely fraud. But so my mum moved out of London when I was young. I was still like 2. We moved to Somerset actually, which is like countryside, proper countryside, like the only people of colour ever. Anywhere. But obviously because my mum was from London, we went back to London a lot.
So there was no dream of London being the promised land that you didn't know, just
Oh,
because
no,
you were
no.
not living in it.
Yeah, like I knew how to take to go on the tube and
Okay.
all of them things, like very.
You had your Oyster card and...
Not
Yeah.
back then.
No,
There was
no,
always to
when
come
we
back
were
then.
Little
Yeah.
travel card, little
Yeah.
paper one, yeah.
Yeah, no. So I knew how to get around London. London wasn't like this big scary place. It was just the norm. Like we would go there regularly because that's where my mum's friends were, close family friends, family as well, until they moved away. But yeah, so growing up in the countryside, to be honest, growing up as like a mixed race girl in the countryside at first was calm. We had a big garden. It was so much fun. Me and my sister just playing all the time, making dens. Like it was a good time. And then it only got to my attention that I was like different when I was in like year 5. And someone was like, the word nigger came up. And someone was like, "You're a nigger?" And I was like,
How dare
not that I
you.
didn't obviously know that but my mum always brought us up like you're equal, which I think was really good for us because if she brought us up as like you're different, I would have always had this thought in my head that I'm different and I need to do more and rah, rah, rah. Like in later years there was more conversations about that kind of thing, but growing up as a child, I was left to be innocent. I can clearly see there's a difference in colour. The only issue I really had was hair, not skin, because I was like, what the hell? But when I got my hair relaxed for the first time, when I was like 10 years, 9, 8, I couldn't stop brushing it, guys. My mum even had to call some of my Caucasian friends and just tell Achasah, you don't brush your hair every second because all
Every
her hair
day.
is going to fall out.
Yeah.
I can't believe this.
That's how I'm living my life now. I'm like, wow, I don't even have a relaxed hair, but it's just, there is definitely a moment of, and for any international listeners that are listening, year 5 is like, you're about 10,
Yeah,
10, 9,
9,
10,
10.
around that time. So for that to be like your first experience of racism in a country, which I feel like the rest of the world must just think
It's not racist.
it's not
Diverse,
racist,
yeah.
like every type of person is there. And then also at that time go through like quite a big appearance shift as a
Yeah.
mixed race person navigating life outside of the promised land of London.
And also I'm growing
There's a
up
lot
with
going
my
on.
white mother in a white area with no connection to any of my black family at that time. So it's like,
But you had a sister.
yeah, I have my sister.
Yeah.
So we have each other.
Yeah.
But again, if you don't have anyone influencing you on what you should or shouldn't know or should or shouldn't be, everything is normal until you find out it's not normal, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was like the glass breaking, like, okay, we're different colours, but what's your problem, bro? Like,
You had your
I
sister.
don't get it, yeah.
You had your sister growing up in that though. But Jevanni, have you got siblings?
So I've
How
got a
were
sister.
you? Okay.
My sister on my dad's side, so half sister. But you know, I love her. Like she's my sister, innit? You know what I mean? So, but for me, like, I want to talk on like the kind of racism thing that Achasah spoke on. So like, at the time, I didn't really realize, but like, you know, in school, like, I remember like I used to get into, you'd have like cussing matches with your friends or whatever, and, or like your peers and stuff. And I often remember like one thing that I remember like a couple of, say, the white kids in school saying is, you got rubber lips. Do you know what I mean? And so that was probably my first experience of racism. I mean, now everyone wants to have lips like mine, so it's calm, like, you know. But back then, I was like, it kind of made me think like, why do my lips look different to? Do you know what I mean? But
you were in London, right?
I was in London, yeah.
So in terms of growing up in London and the experience that you had, do you feel like it was multicultural? Like, do you feel like even though you were getting picked on, Achasah was over there being like the only...
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was getting picked on. I would say that kind of it was like, you know, you gave as good as you got kind of thing. So like in a sense, like growing up in London, like you had to from when I was like 5, 6, you had to kind of be on your toes, like for something that might come at you. And so yeah, I wouldn't say it was like picked on. I definitely think there was definitely an element of, you know, me feeling like, you know, there was other people that were like me around, you know, like you know, I had, you know, like 3 or 4, like in my school in particular, like I think the demographic was probably, actually I think there was probably more Indians and Asians than white, and then I think after that it was black.
Yeah.
Black and white might have been equal actually in terms of demographic numbers and stuff. But yeah.
I also grew up in London, and I was about to say the same thing, which reminds me of a guest that we had on recently, which was Raj Katecha, talking about how his experience as an Asian and Asian via East Africa was very much like do what the black kids did. So it's just an interesting thing how it's come up in the conversation between people from London and people of colour, how we all navigated that a little bit differently. Some people were trying to emulate those people, and some people were like, you're funny, or some people were like, I don't like that about you. So it just shows as well that having the same upbringing means absolutely nothing. Like, or, you know, same upbringing on paper. So many people come through this podcast that have grown up on all different sides of the world, and maybe you think that that's what makes them different, but actually it's like, no, you could be two apples from the same tree and be completely different people.
Even me and my sister, we've grown up in the same house, gone through majority of the same schools. There was a time we went to different schools, but we are completely different. And I'm sure the way that we've internalized everything is completely different. Like, I literally have lived in Delulu land forever. Like, before that nigger comments, I had a teacher say to me before, like, how do you feel about being black? And I was like, I think I picked out another girl. I was like, oh, but she's like, no, you're not the same. And I was like,
As in, like, you picked out like a...
I think she was like, she must have been some kind of like Indian, Asian, but her skin was like tan, but obviously she had that nice straight wavy hair. But she was like, no, you're not the same. And I was like, all right. I was just like, okay, like, fine. It didn't negatively impact me, but for maybe my sister or someone else in that kind of situation, it could have had a detrimental impact. But I was just like, blah, blah.
Yeah. But both of you have discussed like physical attributes about yourselves that you've wanted to change, like hair being one of them, but that's just something that black women fight their entire life. Like, what am I supposed to do with this thing on my head? I mean, Jevanni, you have hair too.
Yeah.
This is one of the best decisions I made. Like,
to lock up.
Yeah, man. Like, it's like, I just
out
feel,
of ease.
Yeah,
but
it's
also
ease.
just like, it gives you an identity too that you don't have to worry about changing. But how do you think, if you had to speak to little Jevanni and little Achasah about the fact that you're both going to be people on camera, visible in the public eye all the time, would you think that would have scared them? Like, having people attack what you physically looked like, both of you in different ways, that would have been like weird.
Like, I don't think it would have like scared me. I think I was probably like 10 times more, maybe even 100 times more extroverted when I was younger than I am now.
Really?
Yeah, like anyone that knew me in my family was always like you just talk too much, and you know, like, and yeah, like even like my auntie, I used to have like anytime like we'd be around the dinner table, say if we went to like my auntie's or whatever, like I'd have an answer for everything. And so she was like, oh, you'd make a good lawyer because you've got, or like you should be in a courtroom because you're quick with the answers and stuff. And then, yeah, so I think like for me, like even in school, you know, like in school when they used to, I don't know if you did it in school, like they'll go around and be like, oh, what are you going to be when you're older and stuff. Like for me, it was always like, oh, you're going to like, it was either like lawyer or you're going to be on TV or something like that. So
You've done both.
You've done both, yeah.
So.
What did little Achasah think she was going to grow up and be?
I wasn't sure, to be honest. Like
A fairy.
I mean, I was just like, la, la. No, I wanted to be different things, but I was, I want to say even unfortunate because now I've done early years, but like as a young kid, I always wanted to do this and do that. And the kind of environment I was around and the kind of adults that I was around, it wasn't meant negatively, but it would be like shutting down. No, you can't be a hairdresser because hairdressers don't earn enough. No, you can't be a lawyer. You're not smart enough. No, you can't do this because that, and the other. So I was just a bit like, disheartened. Like, but I do always remember watching CBeebies. I was telling you the other day, I'm watching like Reggie Yates and Fern Cotton and being like, I want to present like kids shows. Like this looks like fun. They're always having fun. I want to do that.
I think like one thing I should mention actually as well is that based on like the, you know, like I said, you know, going tit for tat, like going back and forth with like, say my school peers, especially like those of a different sort of race. One thing I remember like, and my dad often like banters it now, like reminds me of, I remember coming home and being like, why do we have to eat rice, peas and chicken? And like my friends can have chicken nuggets and smiley potatoes and stuff like that. And then like I kept on asking him questions like to the point where I think I might have even said to him, oh, like, I wish I was white. Like, and then he basically said, okay. And then he enrolled me on Saturdays.
Saturday school.
Yeah, well, not Saturday school. I went horse riding.
Oh, really?
I think so. I mean, there was obviously a method to his madness and so he put me in an environment where like I was the only like black person, and you know, I was riding horses and all of that and stuff. And I think he kind of wanted me to notice that I'm different to others. Obviously, he had his own way of like dealing with things or whatever and stuff. And I think that probably has set me in good stead in terms of now, because in terms of like being able to code switch and whatnot.
But it sounds like both of you had quite well-rounded like primary school educations, supportive families to an extent. I feel like everyone's parents protect them to a degree and do that kind of like, you're not gonna make enough money, because I want you to make money. And I don't want you to get stuck in a career where anyone's doing this or doing that to you. But generally sounds like you had both positive upbringings and have positive relationships with your parents. Whereas I know some people that we've spoken to on this podcast will come on and, have the opposite. So that's like a good foundation for your listeners to understand, especially when you are interrogating people like, what you're getting at here, what you're getting at. So was there a point when in secondary school maybe, or in your teen years, that really you think defined you or defined those years for you? Like secondary school for me, and if we talk to a lot of my good friends are from secondary school up to now. Primary school, not so much, a couple, but not like close friends. Secondary school was the time of my life.
Yes.
Like nothing was important, but everything was important. And it's like, you could get away with nothing and then somehow get it all back. And you just had that little element of freedom, like what you were saying about navigating the tube system or getting your first Oyster card or doing this or doing that. And it's like a lot of character development happened in those years. What was that like for you?
I think for me, when it comes to primary, secondary, even college to a certain degree, I moved schools quite a lot. I think I say quite a lot, I guess that's objective, subjective, whichever one it is.
Well, most people don't move school.
Yeah,
like they go to a school and they stay in that school. So to have moved is different.
Yeah, because even in my primary school, I went to 2 primary schools, I went to 2 secondary schools. So I guess and the 2 primary schools were in completely different areas. The 2 secondary schools were completely different. So I went to a Steiner school. I moved to Bristol from Somerset as I was going into year 7 because my mum was like, I ain't being your taxi driver. She was like, do we go to Bristol, London, whatever. Decided Bristol is that much closer to London and it's still a city. Me and my sister were able to like do whatever on our own. So my mum could have her freedom basically. But with going to a Steiner school, I was like,
what's a Steiner school?
So a Steiner school is, I don't want to say alternative curriculum because they still are following like the British curriculum and stuff, but they have alternative methods of teaching. They like to do a lot of creative stuff. They don't like to put any emphasis on competition. No, I'm competitive. We all know that. I've been quite competitive. I always will tell you, I'm going to beat you.
And
so
when I was funny today, I found this video of Achasah and me, like she thought she could beat me on a race up the hill in Hatton.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, we went Hatton. This is way before the podcast.
Yeah.
And then she was like, she wanted to race me up this hill. Like I was like, cool. And I smoked her.
I'm sure the listeners will love to see that video.
Yeah.
You can just pass that over to my WhatsApp. I'll get that posted.
Yeah, I'll send
ASAP.
it over.
But you have raised that with, I think it was when Matthew Jones was here and you started a cooking competition that hasn't kicked off yet. So I know there's a competitive spirit in
and
you.
you said that you'd beat my High Rocks time.
Yeah, I'm working on that, kind of. I was supposed to run last night. But anyway, so I'm quite competitive. So that being like squished down, I also absolutely love sports. I've always loved sports, always played netball, no matter what school I was at. I'm whatever, like even outside of school, my mum wouldn't take me, I'd find it myself, take myself. So at Steiner School, competition and sports is not promoted. We did a lot of stuff. I did stuff with like woodwork and all kinds of things. Like there's definitely benefits to it. And where I studied early years, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually amazing. But transitioning into it.
But you didn't know that yet?
No, I didn't know that. And I was just in year 7, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And I was like, these people, mum, are fucking weird. Get me out of here. So I transitioned from this like weird, holistic, vibey, everyone peace, like everyone wears what they want kind of school to public secondary school, which was predominantly white, more so because the year before they had expelled a majority of the black people.
Right.
And that was just because it was one of the closest schools to me. Like I could walk there kind of thing. So for me, it's like all these different types of schools, like even in my primary school, it was a state primary school. Then we went to a private primary school for 2 years. So then it's like, that's very fucking different. And then you're seeing all these like older people, and then there's like lots of Cantonese people and all these other ethnicities. And it's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like, not to say it felt anything like London, but at least when I go to London, I can see there's lots of different types of people. There at school, there was a few more different types of people than primary. So I feel like for me, it's not just necessarily one defining moment, but like the whole experience of childhood, having to mix and be that only woman of colour, girl of colour, child of colour in a classroom, or even in like for years, other than my sister, was like, you have to fit in. And there was, I guess one defining moment was, I think I was at a secondary school, maybe when I went to college, I was like, oh my God, I take like majority of an academic year to be myself.
Right.
I'm like sat back observing, seeing how it is here, understanding the lay of the land. And then by the end of that academic year, I'm my like loud, bubbly self. And I said to myself, we ain't got time to waste. We can't be wasting a whole academic year to just be you. And I think from that moment, I'm like, right, when I show up in a room, I am myself. I am whoever I am. Obviously still reading the room, like whatever hat I'm gonna wear that day, but they're my hats and I know who I am. And even back then, when you don't know who you are or whatever, it's like, I'm still going to be myself. If I want to bust a joke, I'm going to bust a joke. I'm not going to hold back. I'm just going to go for it. So I would say that was a pivotal moment for me.
I think one thing that listeners that are listening from Dubai or even from around the world, if you're from the UK, this city is full of expats, so this will sound like not a normal story. But I think here, people very much go and choose the school that their children go to. And in choosing the school that your child goes to, you can almost kind of craft their experience and you can pick whether or not, they are going to be good at netball, whether or not this school has a good netball team or whatnot. But the UK experience, and I don't know yours was the same, Jevanni, was very much like, you go to the school that's nearest your house. And then you go to school with people that also live near you, and then you can hang out with them after school. Whereas out here, especially in a place that isn't particularly isn't particularly walkable, your parents have picked you a school and determined your existence. And I know a lot of international cities, Hong Kong, full of expats and private schools as well, they have that. So it's a story, I think, that for UK, 3 people from the UK having that conversation, like, yeah, sounds about right. Everyone got expelled at some point and then everyone came back. But it is definitely a unique journey if you're not, sounds like a unique journey if you're not used to it. Like, why did you go to this school where everyone's getting expelled? That sounds horrible. But it's like, that was the nearest
normal,
school.
Like my school had metal detectors in there and stuff. And to be honest with you, like my dad wanted me to go to a boys' school. My mum was like, no, and I was like, no. Like I was like, where's the girls at? Like I'm sure I said something along those lines. But yeah, my school when I was in year 7, or was I year 8? No, when I was in year 8, a year 7 stabbed a year 11. And then from then it was like security but this makes the school sound so bad, but this was just like the norm kind of thing.
The lay of the land at the time.
Do you know what I mean?
So how did those experiences then, outside of your education, and I know you went forward into higher education and further education, how did, like for me, school was a free-for-all, but it was a very safe space. We did have a couple of instances where they did some random searches and times when things like that were happening living in East London, but it wasn't the experience of like a young black boy growing up in London when all this stuff was happening. Like, did you lose any of that like safety that school was supposed to provide because of what was going on in and outside of school when it came to acts of violence against teenagers? Yeah,
like I think I have memories of like being in school and not thinking that school was a safe space. Do you know what I mean? That, you had to be in school, but you had to kind of, you had to have like
your wits about
you and, even like when you say going home from school and stuff, like, from like, I think year 7, I was probably like, me and my friends would be walking home or whatever. And then you might see some other boys from another school and then there might be a little altercation or something. And so from very young, like I remember sometimes I used to go to school and like, I'd be listening to like some Ice Cube hip hop, like if just to charge myself up so that I'm ready, like whatever comes at me kind of thing.
Did that distract you? Like as someone who, I'm not to jump ahead, but like had to be very studious later in life. Like I feel like we learn how to learn when we're young, but was that distracting in those like pivotal years of just like life outside of school, but at school?
I think it probably was. Like at the time, I probably didn't feel like it was, but I wasn't really. I mean, obviously, like my dad got me into Saturday school, and my mum, like they were both obviously encouraging me to study. And to be honest with you, like I think like I would have like parents' evenings and stuff, and there's one parents' evening in particular where like I've been saying to my mum like I'm not as bad as the teachers say, etc. I'm not as bad as the teachers say and stuff. And then I got like a very, very, very bad like report on parents' evening, and then me and my mum were walking home from the parents' evening at school, and we walked past like a block of an estate, and she was like, when you're older, do you want to live in something like this? And then we carried on walking, and then we saw like some like semi-detached houses. She was like, oh, do you want to live in something like this? And then she was like, the people that you're hanging around with, when you're older and you need to pay your bills, are they going to pay your bills? And that, I think in that moment, like it kind of just, you know, like gave me a bit of context. But like prior to that, like I was kind of just coasting.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then I didn't even like, my mum didn't go uni or anything. So university wasn't even a thing that I was thinking about until I was in year 9 when the government at the time had this thing called Aim Higher, where like people whose parents hadn't gone to uni, so they were first gen potentially with the ability to go to uni, they would let you do a taste a week at a university. Funny enough, I went to Bristol.
Sick.
So like at the end of year 9, like I went to Bristol uni, and then like I stayed in the halls or whatever for a week and did a taster of law. It was around the time of the July bombings as well, because I remember we were in a law firm office. 7. And then I remember being like, yo, what, I got my own room. And then I'll be honest with you, like I was just thinking, yo, girls. Like, this was obviously like, you know, like as a teenager.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
like 14, 15, maybe not even 15 yet.
Yeah, like so then I found, and there was this one particular teacher in school who, like, because I got excluded, but internally excluded. But I
Happens
think
to all the greats.
Yeah.
Happens to all the greats.
But I actually, when I look back, and even I've had subsequent convos with teachers as I bumped into them later on in life, I think it was because I wasn't challenged in the classroom. And so I'd finish early and then I'd start talking to the person next to me. Then I'd be labelled a distraction, etc. Then I'd protest, and then, you know, you get once you get labelled, it's hard to kind of break the label. This one particular teacher who like just believed in me, and she was like, I'm going to help you to apply for like college sixth form and stuff. And like every day after school, like I would go to her office and like she would just like mentored me, and then before I knew it, I kind of had aspirations to go to college sixth form, and then
So then what was your journey like coming out of a more turbulent secondary school experience, but still deciding that you did want to pursue higher education? Because after I'd been to one hippie school, I'd have been like, absolutely not. There's a chance that uni could be full of freaks. I'm not even going.
I think because I've been to so many schools and like transitioning, even like looking at my environment in Somerset, then looking at my environment in Bristol and looking at my environment in London, I felt at home in all these places. So I could see there's just different humans everywhere. So for me, I don't really remember caring so much about uni. Like I went to college, but I was like, I'm not doing A-levels. That sounds fucking hard. I'm going to do, I did a BTEC, in sports, fitness, like personal training and coaching or something like that, and obviously playing netball at the same time. Then from there I was like, right, do I want to carry on pursuing fitness? And then I was looking into media, like presenting, because like baby Achasah was like, let's do this. And then my mum was like, you're good with kids, why don't you do early years? And look, there's one in Bristol. And I was like, doesn't really sound like my cup of tea really. And she's like, but you're good with kids. And I was like, okay. So we just applied. I applied for a few.
And these were degrees. These were undergraduate.
These are degrees. Yeah. But actually, the early childhood studies I did was a foundation degree, and then I ended up having. So I stayed at home still. Some of the funnest times of my life. My mum is very relaxed, so like I would work at bars. My friends were working at bars, and Bristol, obviously, most of you Londoners don't know, but Bristol has a scene. They are into music, the bars, the clubs. It was more like a drum and bass. Motion, Motion was a madness. Like loads of these places were mad. I actually always forget the name of the bar I used to work on, but it was on Stokes Croft basically. And my mum lives on like basically up the road from there. So it was quite easy for me to get back and forth. And because all my friends worked in bars, we had fun.
You had a time.
I used to be able to shot Ray and Nephew. Like I had fun. A lot of fun. Yeah, it was fun.
That was fun.
And like learning little things, like when you drink Cafe Patron, you'd have a shot of Cafe Patron and then a chaser of a shot of milk, and it's like having an espresso. If you're shotting tequila, you take a shot of pineapple juice. Like we just had a lot of fun.
Okay.
A lot of fun. And the bar was open till like 4 or 5. My friend, because all my other friends that were from Bristol, I think they were all doing foundation degrees as well, but different ones. So yeah, we would just go to each other's bars as well. And like if we wanted to go out for some reason, even though we're out all the time, we could just skip all the queues, get into all the bars, get free drinks everywhere. So now like me, I'm like, I don't queue. I don't like to queue.
At this point of your life.
Yeah, at this point in my life, I'm like, I'm older now.
What is this
like,
cute?
Yeah, what is cute? Pay for a drink? No.
Well, I'm sure Jevanni feels the same way because
Yeah, exactly,
you
I'm
just
sure.
walk to the front of whatever event you're at. But you
but yeah,
completed
so-
that, and
I did the foundation degree, yeah. Fucking hell, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not an academic. This is not my bag. Writing essays, not my bag. Wish ChatGPT was around those times. It was hard for me. Like, it was really hard for me. But I was like, in first year, and because it's a foundation degree, it's not like normal uni where the first year doesn't really matter. The first year
the
matters
only year.
in a foundation degree. So you do 2 years as a foundation.
Okay.
The first year really matters. You even write like a mini dissertation in the first year and then the second year. And then I was like, well, I've done a foundation. I need to make it an honours because I'm not half-assed in nothing. Like, even though I hate this. So that was literally at the time where uni was going from the 3K a year to 9K. So I wanted to actually go to London for my third year, but I was not about to pay £9,000 for 1/3 of a course, which was more than the 2/3. So I had to go to the joining uni, which was Plymouth. So me and a few of my friends went down to Plymouth, and I just kept my head low, grew out my, like, I used to have curly perm. So I have like nice coolie curls instead of like afro, what I'm dealing with now. So I was growing that out. That was a transition from thin eyebrows to thick eyebrows, growing that out, like joined the netball
so you went
team,
to
kept my
Plymouth
head down.
and came back this
new
form
woman.
of
Can we see a
Achasah.
photo of like? Can you?
Yeah, I can find a photo.
Dig out
Thin
some photos for us,
eyebrows,
yeah.
nice hair. It was a good
So you
look.
came out
yeah.
a new woman with a degree.
Yeah.
And a passion for young people that you didn't have before? Or were you still like...
Not particularly. I don't really remember the timeline that much, but after uni, you know, everyone's like, what are you going to do now? I don't know. I've been in the system for so long. My whole life, it's like, go school, go college, go uni, get a job. And I was like, well, I don't really want to be a teacher, actually. So the next step would be like to do your, it's called...
PGCE.
Yeah, or there was also this other thing called teacher license, something like that,
yeah.
TLS or something like that. So it's like another year where it shows, or like half a year where it shows that you're qualified to teach. I was like, I don't want all of this stuff. I don't want any of this stuff. I think I just worked a few jobs and then went traveling for a few months on my gap year.
And then...
And then came back and was like, I love traveling. I love exploring new countries. I love exploring new places.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, but I don't like carrying a bag or washing my underwear in a sink because those things are not fun.
No.
So yeah, me and my friend were like, yeah, let's move somewhere. But before we moved, we were like, okay, she wanted to be a teacher. So she did her PGC and I was like, don't want to do that. So I went back to sports. So I did my level 4 in personal training. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this sounds like a bit of me. Yeah, so then it was like, after that year had passed, I think I was just doing like random jobs again. And it was like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? I don't know. I don't know what I want.
So this is you at like 22,
21, 22.
22, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's catch the Jevanni years up to the 2021 point, because I feel like you've already touched on the fact that we know in the story you become a lawyer, because you told us that when you were back and forth and everyone in primary school, it was in you. But was that really what carried you through? Like, did you really get to apply and be like, I knew I wanted to do this since I was...
So like the type of law that I think I wanted to do when I was younger, for two reasons. It was like criminal law. Like it was one, because I used to watch The Bill, which is like a British TV
huge show.
Love that
and
show.
I just used to be fascinated by it. But also because that's all I knew, like in terms of, I didn't know about corporate law, commercial law and stuff like. So, you know, like when it goes to, like when you're younger and someone says to you like, what do you want to do? Like in my mind, I was like, yeah, like my aim in high was to be like a criminal lawyer, like on maybe like 22K a year or whatever, because obviously there's a big like gap between like criminal and commercial law and stuff. So, and even then I wasn't like 100% set on it, but that was kind of, if I was going to do law, that's what I was going to do. But I also think once I went to uni, I remember in my first year having these conversations and like meeting people who maybe grew up in, you know, like areas where actually they were aiming to be engineers or doctors, or, you know, and that wasn't necessarily my aim when I first went to uni. And then someone like, yeah, I'm going to go into banking law. And for me, I was like, nah. But I think a part of me was saying no, because I didn't believe I'd make it,
right,
or that I'd belong there. So I was like, yeah, I'll do criminal, etc. And I think even like, you know, like first year was kind of just like, 40% just pass, you know, like, so everyone was just like passing.
Just
like,
get through.
Yeah, we were out on the town, you know, like Carnage. I don't know if you know that student like Carnage, where you get the t-shirt and stuff. Like we were having fun, like, and I was just like 40%. And then it wasn't again like until kind of sort of towards the end of second year, third year, when I was like, okay, like let me apply for, actually no, I've had in my student union elections, you know, like you have the SU and you have, and then so I got elected VP services and comms, which was like a paid position for a year.
Oh, sick.
So I basically got to live like a student on like, I think the salary was like 17K or whatever. Like,
good money.
And I'm on campus, like, no, but like as a student, I was like, yo, like I don't even know where that money went, like, but probably like Domino's or something, like. But then, like, I did that for a year, and because it was services and communication, I actually got like a lot of commercial exposure. You know, like we set up the student union's first letting agency, and you know, like we built new like initiatives, like new bars and venues and stuff. So when it came to applying for like law firms and stuff, like, or even to like law school? Yeah, it was. I was applying for law school and applying for law firms at the same time. And a lot of the things they ask you is they want to know that you've got, I think the buzzword that they said was like, they want to know that you've got commercial understanding or whatever. And I was able to kind of talk about, oh yeah, I worked for a multi-million-pound organization and blah, 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 blah. But like, for me, like, it wasn't until I kind of dipped my toe in and was like, oh, actually, yeah, I can probably do this. That's when I kind of started to feel like the motivation, and I switched on and locked in.
And the belief in yourself that you could actually do it.
Yeah.
Could actually be done.
Yeah, but the same Jevanni that you see now that throws events and parties was the same Jevanni that was doing that at uni as well. Like I was president of the R&B Society on campus. Like so we used to throw like parties. I think I touched on it a little bit when Raj was on the episode and stuff. And you know, used to sell tickets for clubs for like £1 commission. Like, and then
Flyering
I remember
up.
like the guy when I look back now, I'm like, yo, Jevanni, you were mugging the first year. Like the guy was like, oh yeah, and if you sell 50 tickets, that's £50. And I'm like, yo, yeah, as a student, I'm like, yeah, 50. Like, yeah, and like even though I was using my NatWest overdraft at the time and whatever, like, but you know, like it was like I don't regret my uni experience. I loved it. I think it also contributed to like the person that I am. And touching on the whole extrovert versus like, you know, going more within. I think even at uni, I was probably still extrovert, like to be able to kind of, you know, run in an election and you're going up to people on campus and asking you to vote and stuff like, and I actually broke the record. It's not been broken since in terms of the most amount of votes received. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like we smashed the other team. Like, and it's funny because actually, I actually asked the other team if I could join their campaign, and basically I asked the wrong person because the person that I asked, he said that it was full, but it's because he was going for the position that I wanted. But he didn't tell the others that I'd asked. And then during the campaign, it came out that actually he blocked me from going into their team. So they weren't happy with him and stuff. But yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've won overall of all of those experiences. And it's weird because just remembering my experience at uni, it wasn't necessarily the most extroverted people that got like the most votes. It wasn't like the loudest people. It was just the people who, as testament to who you both have become now, are the most connected. Like I only voted for people at uni in these things with someone who actually came and spoke to me, like who canvassed and was like, hi, I'm so-and-so and I want to be your leader. Oh, okay, you're the only person that's come up, so I get to vote with you. And it's like, that's kind of like what I've seen from both of you as the people that you are. Achasah, I see all the time doing this, especially when we thrive. It's like, hi, who are you?
Yeah.
Hi, who are you?
Chatting to people all the time.
Like chatting to people all the time. And it's like that uni experience for both of you and that just deciding what you wanted to do, kind of already starting to both of you now become the multifaceted people that you are now. That's probably an essential part of like a step throughout that you might not notice when it happens. And it's not about necessarily being introverted or extroverted, but it might just be meaningful connections versus talking for the sake of it. Yeah. And how you've developed and as you've grown up, gone from being the little boy who's just talking too much to now like actually speaking when necessary. Yeah. And like you know who you are now and you know where you stand. So it's like, I don't need to just talk all the time.
It's interesting actually because Johnny, when you're talking about the flyers, it reminded me before I worked in a bar, I worked in a club in Bristol, which was called Syndicate. And I went there because my boyfriend at the time, he worked there. And he was like, oh, there's an open day to get a job. And I was like,
I need a job.
So I came in and they were like, what job do you want? And I was like, oh, hadn't thought about it. And they were like, huh? And I was like, didn't realise. I thought you were just going to tell me which jobs was going. Obviously, I was young and dumb. I just was thought you were just going to give me any kind of job. So I was like, I like the fact that I like the shot girls that go around and like give out shots. Like, can I do that? And they're like, we employ someone outside, but I guess you could do it for us and we'll just give you a bottle. And they gave me 50p per shot. So the first time I worked there, I think I got like £80 after like 3 hours. This is years ago. I was gassed. But that showed me that, one, I can create any position I want because I've just walked in there and just said, I didn't have a clue and just said what I wanted to do and actually got something from it. And two, you can make good money, not doing very much.
Both of you have just spoken about money in this part of your life. Did you have an understanding of money at this point? Like you just mentioned kind of looking at law options and knowing which ones were making more than others, or looking at other people's careers and knowing which ones were making more than others, and maybe knowing or not knowing that you're bumping your flyer people or whatever. At 2021 really, or 19 even, do you feel like you had an understanding of money, what it would take to make it in life, like how much money was needed? Because both of you now, without jumping ahead into spoiling the story, but everybody knows because they listen to this podcast every week, right? Work in various industries where things are not stable. Like both of you fell off the face of the earth in a way during the pandemic. And that was like, turbulent financial times for everyone, but particularly people who are event-based or freelance-based. When you were like 19, 20, making £80, but then also being able to say things like, I made 17K and I don't know where it went. How financially aware do you think you were back then? And do you feel like that's had an impact on how you are able to manage your lives as freelance individuals?
I think for me, back then, like student loan would drop and I'd buy a bottle of Moët. Or like I'd go into town, and then I'd buy I just remember like going into town and like just buying like this Adidas, like this bare bright Adidas jacket and some Adi collar trainers or whatever that I didn't even end up wearing. Like, so what I think towards the end of my uni, I kind of started to realize like, I don't want to waste my money on certain things. But yeah, like I think the culture in my uni, like amongst like my friends was like, yeah, like listen. But to be fair, like when I say I buy a bottle of Moët, like the Moët on campus was like in the bar, the student union bar was like £20. So like there's photos on my Facebook somewhere like with me like stunting as a 19-year-old with a £20 bottle of Moët, like that I didn't even like the taste of, like, but it was, I think in terms of like how, when you talked about like was I aware of what like kind of salary I'd want to be earning and stuff, I started to get a bit more context, certainly within law, like that, there's different types of law firms that pay, different types of amounts of money and stuff. And like, there's this book that I think it was called, it's the official like training, it's the official like law society book, and it's got like all the firms in there. It's basically for trainees, like aspiring trainee solicitors. You can
how to pick.
Yeah, how to pick. Like, and then like it might have, for example, a firm, like a Magic Circle firm, which is like, a big firm, and it'll say first year training contract salary, it might have been like 40K, second year training contract salary, 70K, NQ 80K or whatever. So I was looking at these and I was looking at the US firms, and the US like starting first year training contract salary 60K and 80K, but then also it has a little bit about the culture. So obviously the more you're earning, the more intense,
hostile,
the more intense the culture was and stuff. And so at this point, I'm now like, okay, kind of like what kind of work-life balance do I want? What kind of salary do I want? So I can kind of set my targets and stuff.
Were you DJing at this point? Like, were you making any other money other than what you started earning in your first couple of years out of like uni and law school and whatnot?
Basically, after I finished my tenure as president of the R&B Society, I was like, yo, this year I've made the Student Union so much money, because obviously the society is part of the Student Union. So I'm throwing all these cool events in the Student Union venues and I'm making them so much money. So I just went to a venue in town. I was like, look, I want to start throwing events here. So I started.
But is this throwing events or is this DJ or is this both?
No, this is before I was even a DJ. So yeah, I started throwing my own events and stuff. I only really started DJing for kind of like two reasons. One, I booked a DJ to come and play at my event, like from London. He came up and stuff. And I was like, look, whatever you do at the end of, I just want to hear like a Tupac versus Biggie set. And he didn't do it, and I was vexed. And I was just like, my dad DJs, like my dad's got decks and stuff, so I was just like, I knew my way around music, but I just couldn't really like beat match and stuff.
Right.
So that was one of the driving factors. I was just like, do you know what? I'll save so much money if I can just learn to DJ at my own events, or even pay myself to DJ at my own events and stuff. So that was kind of the driving thing behind it. But yeah, like, so I was making, like cash, like selling tickets for my events and stuff like, and it wasn't as a promoter now, it was my own event. So like, I was like creating a budget to pay the DJs, and this was a time when like we'd get flyers printed and stuff, and so I remember like going down to London to like Greenwich to like this like printing warehouse and picking up like 2 big boxes of flyers and stuff, and then at the end of the night in town going out and giving out the flyers, and and yeah, so like I was making money on the side, but again it was just like it came and went quickly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So Jevanni the lawyer, Jevanni the events coordinator, arranger, manager, and Jevanni the DJ were all kind of like being born at the same time.
Yeah.
And then over here we had Achasah working it out, fresh off traveling, deciding that you were going to move to here. At what point did you get to Dubai?
I was 23 when I got to Dubai, but I wanted to move to Singapore because that was one of the places that I'd gone. I remember being on the bus in Singapore being, I love it here. The only thing that's missing is netball. And then I saw like, one of those flyers hanging off like a
lamppost.
Street lamp. And it was like, join the netball team. And I was like, I'm home. But because me and my friend both decided we wanted to move countries, we just wanted to live in the sun. Like that was literally it. I think a lot of people, when you speak to, maybe not so much nowadays, but definitely around more so when I came, a lot of people, when you speak to them, they're running away from something when they're an expat, unfortunately. But your problems follow you guys. But luckily, I wasn't one of those people. Luckily, I was one of those people that just was chasing the sun. But because my friend was a newly qualified teacher, we're both 23, I was like, look, you find a job first. I can do whatever. I can go out and be a personal trainer now. I can go and be a nursery teacher. I can find something. I can work at a hotel, at the kids club, whatever. I was just like, I'll find something. So she randomly got a job in Dubai. We had both never been here. And I was like, okay. So then I was just looking for jobs and then managed to find a job as a nursery teacher. So I just flew on out and became a nursery teacher, basically.
And you were a nursery teacher for a couple of years?
No, 3 months.
Oh, for 3 months?
Yeah, it was hell.
So I know you transitioned out of that, and you told me a really interesting story the other day, which I feel like I want you to tell on air, about becoming not quite an au pair, but like a governess.
Okay, so I was a nursery teacher out here for like 3 months, but basically there's a difference between nursery teachers and then a teacher in a school. A nursery teacher, back then I was on 10K when I came, and being back home I was like, £2,000 a month. Lit, I'm coming. And then when I got here, I was like, that's not going to cut it. Even back then, when was that? 2016? I was like, that's not going to cut it. So because my friend was a teacher, I made friends with people that she was friends with, talked my way into getting an interview and then being a cover teacher there. Because obviously I've done my early childhood studies degree. And in that we do teaching and stuff. It's just that I'd never anticipated being a teacher. So I didn't do the extra stuff. So I then became a teacher in a school, moved around inside the school teaching early years, year 1, PE, whatever, decided, no, this isn't for me. I've tried, I don't like it. I love kids. I love being around kids, young ones. I loved being with the older ones, teaching them about creaming their skin because they're all coming in so ashy. No matter their heritage, if your skin is brown, you got to cream them elbows. So I was telling everyone, and like, I feel like I like to have a lot of fun. I like to joke around, and like with the young ones, you get a different kind of joke and banter. They're brutally honest, but you get like a different kind of banter to like the teenagers. So I liked working with all the ages, which I was able to do. Again, showing me that if I just ask for something, I asked to be a PE teacher, I got it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I always say like, I get whatever I want. I just have to know what I want and I can get it. So after teaching, I was like, right, I want to be an EA. I had a few friends that was like EA, PAs, and I was like, your life seems lit. Like you go to the salon whenever you want, just there on your laptop, seems like a piece of piss. I'm here in school from like earlier than 7 a.m. till sometimes 5 p.m. and you lot get paid way more than me. What the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. So, unfortunately, in schools, you have to tell them in like around December if you're going to come back for the following September.
I've heard this.
So it's like, oh yeah, okay, at this young age, what the hell do I want to do with my life? So I was like, right, I'm not coming back in the December. Then in the around February and mid-Feb, it was like COVID. And I was like, oh, shit. Because then all the PAs and EAs and all these people are getting made redundant. Now, I'm not stupid. Like, it's going to be extremely hard for me to get a PA or EA job when I don't have any experience in that, when most of them are being made redundant.
Yeah.
So I was like, what am I going to do? Pride will not allow me to go back there with my tail between my legs saying, give me back my job. So I'm going to have to find something. So I was like researching everything, and then stumbled across this thing called a governess. And I was like, this sounds doable. Like, it's basically a fancy teacher nanny in someone's house. But a lot of them are like, you have to live in and you have to work 6 days a week. So I said to myself, right, bearing in mind I've been on 10K now for the last 4 years. I can't cope with this anymore. But luckily, transitioning from a nursery to a school, you then get housing as well. So 10K is much more livable because my house is paid for.
Taken care of,
at least, like the rent is paid for. You still pay bills, but rent is paid for. So it's much more affordable. So I said to myself, right, I want to work 5 days a week. I want to live out and I want 20K. I'm not settling. That's what I want. I had a few different interviews. I remember the first interview I had, this person was like, I want to give you, I think it was like 8K and 6 days a week, 12-hour days. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It was in the Bulgari Hotel, but I always say that wrong. Bulgari Hotel.
Bulgari.
They lived in Bulgari.
They could have
You know what I mean?
afforded
They
more than
could've-
8K.
Oh, 100%. And 6 days a week, I was just like, nah. And I remember my friends around me at that point in time were like, just take it. You need a job. I had been out of work for like, it was the summer holiday period. So there was a few months. I just said to myself, I just need a job by like August, September, because that's when my pay will run out effectively. So yeah, a lot of my friends around me were like, just take it for now and then look for another job while you're in that because you need something. I was like, with what time? Like, I'm not going to be...
6 days a
For
week.
me, I was like, absolutely not. So then I guess this was another lesson for me. It's like, once someone is unfortunately projecting, and obviously they're doing it to like protect me and help me, but I was like, I don't need that energy. So then I just wouldn't talk to them about me getting a job. But then I managed to find exactly what I wanted, 5 days a week, live out, 20K, but done by September. So yeah, I did that for just over a year.
And that's another like transition in and out of jobs, which is different here. Like Dubai is a whole new world. Like it's actually not a real place. But listeners who potentially listening from the UK, I have some friends that are leaving teaching, having done it for a good few years, secondary school, primary school, when they literally have to completely reinvent themselves. Because there's no governance, like it's not a thing, but it's a whole different life here where, yeah, you might have a private teacher nanny in your house, teaching your kids exactly how you want while you live in a hotel or while you live here for 3 months and then you take them on the road and then you take them to the yacht and then you take them wherever they want to go. So
literally, one of my friends is a governess now. She's going all different countries all the time.
Yeah, so it's a very different journey, not just for you, but just for anyone that's listening. I know people listen to this podcast for inspiration. You can skip all the other bits that Achasah did if you want, and you can go straight to governess if you like. If that sounds desirable to you, not obviously the education, but yeah,
as long as you. So the difference between like an au pair and a governess is like teacher qualified.
Teacher, yeah.
So then the teaching stuff I had done obviously came into play. So it's like everything I've done has really led me to whatever situations.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for me to mention that in all of this time, when I moved to the school, I would say like second year of being here, even first year of being here, I started to do other stuff on the side. So anyway, I met this guy randomly, and then he ran this thing called Wasta Radio. And I was like, in the back of my mind, I had imposter syndrome for a long time. And I met him and I was like, I want to start presenting. I want to start like doing podcasts. Podcasts weren't really a thing then. It was more like, I want to start doing presenting stuff. So I was like, okay, let me reach out to him. I know him, we're cool. And just be like, yo, like, I want to do this with you. I want to co-host with you. And he was like, yeah, no problem. Come in. So
there goes Achasah again, inventing the life she wants.
Yeah, literally. I was like, I want to do this. Oh, I see an opportunity. I'm just going to ask him. He said, yeah. And I was like, oh shit, no, I actually have to fucking turn up. So at that point in time, yeah, it was the second year I lived here because then I was a PE teacher. So I was going into school, 6:30, 7 a.m., going gym, going school, then teaching all day. Then I'd have like after school, like netball tournaments or training or whatever with the kids. Then I'd get changed at school, go straight there and do interviewing and stuff.
So Achasah, the teacher, early years person, we didn't know governess yet, but also presenter, podcaster, this part of your life was being born at the same time. So we've left Jevanni with 3 things going on now. We left Achasah with 3 things going on now. And what actually brought you to Dubai, or what brought you out of London? Because I feel like you had...
Yeah. So like, for me, like, I didn't see myself living in Dubai. Like, obviously I went into like my career I think a series of events probably happened that and I think it all happened for a reason. Like, I remember my first day in the office, I was sharing an office with a partner who actually I hated at the time, but now I have a lot of respect for. And I just remember looking over at him, and you know, he had 2 kids. He was like old, grey, but he never saw his kids and stuff. And so I was like, that's not going to be the life for me, kind of thing. So I already knew that I didn't always want to be like, you know, sat in an office kind of environment.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think one thing I didn't mention was, like, when I was younger, I used to go to drama school, like professional drama school as well, called Achasah. So like a lot of like, you know, like UK actors kind of like hone their craft there and stuff. And so I've always been like creative and stuff. And then, yeah, like I left the firm I was at and went in-house to Nissan. And at the time I was volunteering at a community radio station in Brixton called Represent.
Oh yeah, still going. I got a friend on there.
Yeah, so I had a show on Represent. I had a show on there for like 2-3 years or whatever. But this is the bit which is a little bit naughty kind of thing. I was volunteering, but I didn't really tell Nissan that I was volunteering. Obviously, like, they would have backed it and stuff, but I didn't really tell them. Like, but like on a Monday, I would work from home, and that's when I'd, like, you know, my show was at lunchtime. So basically, in my lunchtime, I'd be doing my show. Anyway, that station was funded by the Prince's Trust, and so when Prince Harry and Meghan announced that they were going to get engaged, they the first public outing as an engaged couple was to the station. So I remember saying, so like my colleagues like in my office knew that, you know, I was, you know, doing certain things with the radio.
Not HR. HR didn't.
HR didn't know. So I was like, I'm going. I was obviously like, I was like, oh yeah, Prince Harry and Meghan are going to the station that I kind of, you know, volunteer at. I'm going to take a half day tomorrow to go down there. So I leave. Obviously, I don't wear I'm code switching. So like in the office, I'm in my suit and tie and stuff. And by the time I'm at Nissan, so their head office in the UK was just outside of London in Rickmansworth. So I'd have to drive home, change into like a tracksuit, and then get on the tube to Brixton. And because of all of that palaver, I ended up getting there a little bit late. And so I missed the thing to go inside, like into the studio or whatever. But they were late anyway. So where I was stood waiting, they walked past, and then I tapped Harry on the shoulder and I was like, oh, here's my business card. If you need a DJ to DJ at your wedding, let me know. And then he looked at it, smiled, put it in his pocket. Everyone was like, hey, cheering. And then he, someone tapped me on the shoulder, was like, oh, I got it on video if you want it. And I was like, yeah, send it to me. So he sent it to me. I tweeted it just as a joke. I was like, oh, just slip Prince Harry my business card. Maybe I'll get the gig or whatever. And then like within like 20 minutes, it'd gone viral like across the globe, like to the point where I didn't know at the time it had gone viral. But then like...
You had to get back to work?
No, because I've taken a half
Oh, now
day.
you're off.
Yeah. So like then... So like we come out and there's all like the like news cameras there and stuff, like, and all of a sudden they wanted to like interview me, like, and I just thought it was just like, you know, just because I'm there, like and then one of my friends was like, yo, Jevanni, check your Twitter. And then on my Twitter, like it was like Sky News, like CNN, everyone's like, oh, hey, can we use your video for such and such and such and blah, 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 blah. And then long story short, like I thought it was going to be a moment that would die down in a day. The moment lasted like for say 6, 7, 8 months or whatever. So I was on Good Morning Britain twice. Because
they didn't get married for a while, so it's still like, will he, won't he? Is he going to be?
Yeah, like it got to the point where there was like I was going to Amsterdam to DJ, and then I was going to Coachella, and I had a few other dates, and I just like not even tweeted in my Instagram story, just put like a tour schedule, and then within like 5 minutes, the Daily Mail had taken my screenshot off of my Instagram page and put it in, and it was like, because basically I had a private gig on the day of the wedding in my tour schedule, and like it was crazy, like so I went on to Good Morning Britain, and then Ben Shepherd was like, oh, what would you play to get the Queen dancing? And I said I'd remix ABBA's Dancing Queen. And then the day before the wedding, like in my mind I was like, obviously I'm being like, someone once told me like with PR you leverage it and then to get the next opportunity and stuff. And so obviously when I'd said that on national TV, like one of my friends was like, why don't you make a remix? And so I was like, yeah, why not? Like, you never know. Like, I don't even know if I'm going back on there, but like I'll make it. So I had one ready. And then when I learned that I was going to be going on to Good Morning Britain again on the day before the wedding, I was like, oh, you guys asked me last time about thingy. I've actually made it. And then so they arranged for me to play it on Good Morning Britain. So I played it.
Sick.
Yeah, I played it on Good Morning Britain. Literally went straight from ITV Studios to Sony's office And then I was like negotiating with Sony and Warner about them signing this track basically. And then meanwhile, like,
did your lawyer skills come into play there?
Yeah, like, and well, funny enough, actually, the lawyer at Sony at the time, actually knew her. Like, it was jokes, like, and
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then like off the back of that, like, just all these like opportunities were happening, and then like work were like, so Nissan now, like, they're like, oh, like, it's
now HR knows.
Yeah. Like,
HR saw you on TV.
Yeah. So, and then they're like, oh, it's becoming a little bit of a distraction. Just take a week off, deal with it, and when it dies down, then come back. And in that week, like, I did this Snickers advert with Elton John. Like, I was just getting like Hunter. Like, do you remember the band Hunter? Like,
yeah, the
all
Willies.
these brands. Like Hunter like hit me up and they just gifted me like all these like clothes and stuff. And then this DJ deck company called Denon gave me like free DJ decks and stuff, because obviously they're probably thinking, oh, if he ends up playing, like, we want our stuff in there or whatever. So I was just like, no, this is the life for me right now. So so I negotiated a settlement agreement with Nissan, and then left. And I think because I'd done that, I was kind of free to kind of, I know you asked me about how did I get to Dubai, but I felt like this is all part of the things that led up to it. And then I just lived like this whole new creative life, like. And that was a challenge at first, because I went from having like a very, 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 very good salary to now chasing invoices, and there's a direct debit coming soon, and I'm like, yo, like, where's this payment? When's it dropping, kind of thing? Yeah. And then
so your journey of having that, like, which was very good at the time, 17K salary, you were like, okay, salary, and then one day you were like, uh-oh.
Yeah. So like, because as a student, 17K is great.
Loads, yeah.
And then like, I just remember like kind of, I remember when I got my like settlement pay or whatever, and I was like, okay, I'm going to budget this to make it last and stuff. But I was like, but I'm doing this, and this, so it should be fine.
Top itself up as it goes along.
In my mind, I was like, what I've got coming in will cover my expenses, and I'll still have more. But it's just the things just didn't come in on time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then like, so I like, long story short, kind of, I had a friend, and I guess this goes back to like connections and stuff. I had a friend who was head of PR at GHD. They make the hair straighteners and stuff, which I didn't even know about. I didn't know what GHD was until she hit me up and she was like, oh, you're not doing law now, are you? And I was like, yeah, not really, kind of. She was like, well, we need a legal counsel just to kind of support us. But I've told them about you, and, they love the fact that you're also kind of in that kind of creative space as well, because it's a forward-thinking brand. And then it was like, look, you can pick your hours and you can work from home if you want. So I ended up being legal counsel of GHD 2 days a week. And then COVID happened, and like, I was just like, look, if you need me to work any other days. And then so it ended up being like 5 days a week during lockdown. So I had a, income coming in.
That's a rare story that people got more work in COVID than ever before. Like that was very rare. Yeah. I didn't get furloughed, but all my friends got furloughed. And I was just like, fire me. Just fire me. Let me go. So to have more work during COVID is a miracle.
Yeah. And then like, obviously like lockdown came to an end, and I've been to Dubai several times just to DJ, like in and out kind of thing. But I never saw Dubai as like a place to live. When I'd come in, I just thought like it was soulless, it was fake. I was just here to DJ and then leave. I didn't know about any communities out here and stuff. And then it was my friend Max. He moved out maybe a year before COVID, and it was his 30th. And they've just lifted lockdown. So I'm like, me and the boys are like, let's go out. So we went out, and I just remember like going to, do you remember those outdoor gyms near Zero Gravity in the Marina? He was like, I'm going to, I think it was Tobias had a class on there. I'm going there on a Saturday, come with me. And I went there and I started to meet, I think that's probably even where I probably met you the first time, probably, to be fair, when I think about it. Yeah, so then I'm seeing
skydive,
yeah.
Because we're fitness people, you know?
Yeah, you are, both of you.
And then seeing like teachers and stuff, and I was like, there's teachers here? Like, there's like PAs and, and execs, like, and then I was just like, I just saw the life that he had, like good weather, and I was like, yo, like I actually need to move to Dubai. And then that was it really.
Then you moved. I did not know that countries existed. Like, you obviously went traveling at that time. When did Dubai even like come into your world of knowledge? Like, I didn't know that Dubai existed or that the UAE existed for years. And I had a similar situation when I was young. Like, my school was full of Asian, like, I think I knew people from like various parts of Africa. I feel like in secondary school, I only knew Nigerians. But in primary school, I was like, no, I used to know Zimbabweans. I used to know South Africa. But this area of the world, and maybe it's because of the media blackout and the way that things were in the UK, but I was just like, the Middle East.
I had no idea about the Middle East. I'd been to Morocco before. I knew about other countries in general because I was fortunate my mum would take us on holiday every year, and my uncle lived in the south of France, so we'd go to his house at least, or like drive around in Europe and stuff. But in terms of the Middle East, no, I didn't travel in the Middle East. No. I went like Asia, Bali.
Just went straight over it, basically.
Yeah. I think we might have. I went to Sri Lanka once when I was like 16. I think we stopped off in Dubai, but I wouldn't have like. I was just like, this is just a pause. Do you know what I mean?
The making Dubai home for both of you was just like completely brand new.
Yeah.
And then when you came here, everything in Dubai just happened so quick after that. Like just from living here, I've been here for like 9 months now, and I feel like I've lived 5 lives. I know that you're all at this point now, your story living 3 or 4 lives each. But then the main things that you guys ended up deciding like, okay, I'm going to make this home and this is how I'm going to do it. Like you have ultimately ended up having one of the most popular and biggest events in Dubai, probably in the UAE at this point, seeing as like, this is the heart and soul of where all this kind of stuff happens. How did you know to like focus down on that at that point? Like all roads led to the cookout, or all roads led to weekly parties? How did you get to Jevanni right now?
So like, Just to touch on what you mentioned about like perception of Middle East beforehand, like all I really knew was like Iraq or, you know, like what you see it like on the news and stuff. And like I didn't even know the UAE existed either. And I traveled like Achasah did as well, like did like Southeast Asia and all of that. But never thought about the Middle East. But in terms of like when I got here, so when I came out on that holiday and I was like, okay, I need to find a way to make this work. Me and my friend Max, who lived out here, we'd already launched our brand Old School Brunch in London, and we'd been running it in London. He'd obviously moved out to Dubai, and so our plan was like, okay, let's just do like a one-off in Dubai. We found a venue, and the thing with Dubai, which is different to the UK, with like in the UK, like I'd have a brunch on, it would be once a month. In Dubai now, we found this venue and we did it, and they were like, oh, and can you come back next week and do it?
So you spoke to Kieran about this in one of the episodes. So a good few episodes ago now, you had Kieran Lindsay on the podcast, and he was talking about his events company and how it all started. And there was a little moment between you guys where you were like, remember all this, remember all that. So was that your first event in Dubai?
Yeah, so my first event in Dubai, funny enough, the person that actually found the venue is Kirsty, who was our guest even further back than Kieran. Yeah. So basically that time when I came out on that holiday, like, and I just decided I wanted to move here, like, I don't know, like the networking Jev came out again, right? And so that's when I met Kirsty on that holiday. And then I went back to London and went straight off the plane to my event. And obviously I'm posting it on my stories. And then she replied and she was like, this looks fun. Like, would you ever bring it to Dubai? And I was like, well, it's funny you say that, like, because I would. So in terms of like how we got to the cookout, that was, if you used to ask me like when I came here, oh, are you going to eventually put on an event?
That's the scale.
And you know, the shout to the partners I've got in the cookout. So there's 4 of us that run that together. I wouldn't have said that, you know, shout out to Clown, Sheldon and Seb. But like, I think it was all like a step-by-step process, you know, doing the weekly stuff that allowed for, you know, being able to kind of, your network is growing rapidly because each week is different people coming to the brunch, you know, like and so before I knew it, like I became the go-to to like, oh, if you want to go to an event, hit Jevanni up, or if you want to go to this, hit Jevanni up and stuff. And I think
it goes from knowing like 2 people in Dubai to knowing 200 in
like literally
days.
Yeah, so like I think when I came out to Dubai, I didn't really have a plan. I didn't think I'd be in Dubai for longer than a year, to be honest with you. I just didn't want to go back to the UK. They were talking about a second lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to at least do a year here and then see where I'm at. And it wasn't like until probably about 9 months in being in Dubai. And then I was like, wait a minute, like, basically, I didn't have a bank account because I didn't have a residency at the time. So like all my money was cash, right? And then it was in my drawer, like, and then like.
I mean, it was all legitimately filed with HMRC and everything was fine, right, Jevanni?
Yes,
that's what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I just remember like opening the thing. I was just like, let me just count like how much I've made like the last period of time or whatever. And then I was like,
oh,
it's like, yo, like,
I'm rich.
like
Going back to your question earlier, how are you with money?
like, but then that's when I was like, do you know what? Like, actually, I'm not going back to law. Like, because then that's when it hit me like that there's no ceiling. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I spent so much of my life like aspiring to get a salary of like 80K, 100K or whatever. And that was goals. Like, and then I soon realized actually, no, there's no ceiling. Like, don't put any limits.
The limit does not exist.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what part of the journey led to Achasah now, which is still
Figuring it
multifaceted?
out.
Yeah, still figuring it out and still multifaceted. It's not to say that Jevanni's not figuring it out. We all are figuring it out day by day just because the world is changing around us, let alone what changes we want to make in the world. But I feel like the two constants that you have, and when you did fill out your form that you found quite difficult, the two things that you described yourself as are an events manager. I would say that's your day job in air quotes, but also you co-founded another incredible organization which exists as a full-on company, Women Who Thrive. Was that the end goal? Was it all roads lead to Women Who Thrive? Was that even a speck in your imagination at that point?
I don't even know what my end goal is right now. So, no. Women Who Thrive came about because me and my friend and co-founder Sue, it was like, this is like pre-COVID time, so yeah, I don't understand. But basically, back then, everyone, when you're out and about, everyone was super friendly. There was none of this like stick your nose in the air and none of this standing back at clubs and whatever. Everyone was really friendly back then, from my perspective. Like, and it's that kind of like UK crowd. Let's say the UK crowd, everyone would just mingle together. There was only like one R&B night. And back then it was the week was Sunday to Thursday. So Thursday night you'd be somewhere, Saturday night you know where to go, or Saturday brunch or whatever. So me and Sue would see each other all the time, like, oh, we should meet up. Like literally probably for like a year or two. And then when we finally met up, we just like clicked. And we had a lot of the same interests in terms of what we wanted from this life, like, as I would say, the bigger goals, like wanting to support children and different things. So we actually started a few different businesses. We did Sugar Planners, which was events. We did Achasah Tours, because I used to always be on my stories, like whenever someone come out, Achasah Tours, where we go today, rah, 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 on my Instagram story. So just started like trying to do a concierge service out of that. We did like a gifting company. So loads of different things. And then when COVID hit, we were like, oh, okay, we can't do the event stuff, which is kind of what we both liked the most. So then we ended up, Sue went for dinner with some friends, and around the table, it was one of those days where instead of everyone being like, I'm fine, someone was like, do you know what, fuck it, I'm not fine because X, Y, Z. And she said they just had a really good conversation. So she was like, let's do an event. And then together, actually with Tyra, another one of our guests, the three of us sat down and created Women Who Thrive, and was like, me and Sue wanted to do it to get content to showcase that we could do a branded event basically and to relaunch. But we did like a cheesy circle of trust. It was really nicely branded, gave gift bags, had like different women who were friends and friends of friends who were all like entrepreneurial, starting something or already started their side hustle. And we had this beautiful women's circle where everyone saw each other as collaborators instead of competitors, and women were coming together whether they were in the same industry or different industries, just helping and supporting each other. And it was such an uplifting evening that night the three of us sat down, we're like, oh my God, we have to do it again. Obviously, Tyra has the amazing Tyra Creatives. She was like, guys, I can't do another business. And me and Sue were like, we want to do a business. This is what we've been wanting to do. Tyra was creating her baby was created already at that time. So obviously, as any of us know, there's only so much focus you can put on creating a business. But
those are the kind of decisions that actually, when you look back at them, are the right ones to make. Because
the
last thing you want is for someone to be a part of something and then, you
not be able to give.
Not be able to give, and then it's, it affects your friendships, and you're not like all involved. Like, you just shouted out three of your, like, you have respect for the three people that you're working with, because I imagine you're all working on it equally. Like, you want to be the person who can say, not for me right now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it takes a lot of balls to even be able to like be like, oh, do you know what? I know what I need to focus on.
And step away from a good thing.
Yeah.
To be like, I could make loads of money over there, but it's going to either give up this or it's going to give up that. And then you end up with half of nothing.
Exactly. And that's not what we want. And even with like, when we started Women Who Thrive, we were still trying to do Sugar Planners and Achasah Tours. And then we were like, I was like, I can't. And be a governess 12 hours a day. I was like, I can't do all of this stuff. And then bearing in mind, I still wanted to do presenting stuff. So at one stage, I'm not going to say the name of the podcast that I was doing because I don't want anyone to be going and looking it up. But we was doing another podcast out here with some other people in Dubai. We were just basically chatting shit, which wasn't really my cup of tea. But again, it was me getting in front of the camera.
For the experience.
For the experience of being in front of the camera, for doing this kind of thing. And at that point in time, I didn't have confidence in myself to go off and do something. I tried to start a chat with Achasah, filmed 2 episodes it's on my phone, on my old phone. That has never gone anywhere. Because I suffered with imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to have this conversation over somebody else? Why should it be me? And I didn't know how to overcome that. I overcome it now, thanks to hypnotherapy. Shout out all the hypnotherapists. If you know me, you know I love a bit of therapy, hypnotherapy, anything that's to do with helping your mind. Because of things like that, because I had this imposter syndrome, and I already know, because after everything I've said, and there's a lot I haven't even shared, if I look at my treasure chest of memories, I can clearly do anything I want. I'm creating my own opportunities, but the thing I want, like being here right now, felt like I could see it, but it's like, you shouldn't have that. That's not for you. You're not allowed that.
Which is a similar point that you found yourself in when you were looking at law in the first place. Like, that's not for me. I can't have that. So those 2 journeys that you've had to this moment right now where you have these 2 things, and then what happens? One day you message each other and you're like, I'm going to start a podcast? How does Stepside
Giovanni, you reached out to me because...
because Tyler, like, so I had this thing on like, basically at this point, I'd been running like 4 or 5 events a week, 6 events sometimes, and I was DJing maybe 8 times a week. So I just saw like my trajectory of like where my life was. I was like, what have I got to show? Like, I've been in Dubai for 3 years. What have I got to show for it? Like, apart from, you got these cool parties, but everyone just knows you as like the DJ or the party Jev. Like, most people probably don't even know that you're a qualified lawyer and, or that, like you had a show on BBC Radio 1 and all of this sort of stuff. So I was like, I need to start kind of stepping into that again. And I was like, do you know what, actually, because like I used to have a podcast in London, but it was more kind of like, not similar to yours, but more so on like music and culture and, like events that were happening day to day and stuff. And like I said, I had the show on BBC and I kind of had like still had low-key ambitions of maybe going on mainstream radio in Dubai. Now that Dubai is, because before, like I said, I didn't see Dubai as home. So I think in the back of my mind, I was like, I could always move back to the UK and I could probably still work my way back into like the BBC or whatever. But once I kind of knew that Dubai was home for a while, I was starting to think of like, okay, if it's going to be home for a while, I need to stop treating it like a holiday, AKA just throwing parties all the time and, trying to do stuff with a bit more substance. Yeah. And like
You thought substance? Who's a woman of substance? I know a 12 out of 10 who's full
Tyler,
of substance.
Yeah, we've got a mutual friend called Tyler, and I asked her, like, this is what I want to do. Like, who do you think would be good for it? And then she mentioned Achasah, and straight away I was like, yeah, because I obviously knew that you'd done that podcast before, and obviously I knew that you were doing Women Who Thrive, so I knew that like you. Just by looking at Women Who Thrive from the outside, I knew that there were going to be some synergies in terms of like, you're trying to empower people and, and elevate things and stuff. So that appealed to me. And it was funny that because when I approached Achasah, like obviously Achasah's like, I think you might have thought I was wanting to do like your previous podcast. I don't know. Like,
I was like,
Yeah. Like, and obviously I'm like, for me, I was like, that's not the podcast I want to do. Like, and internally, that's what I was thinking. And obviously you were thinking that as well. So then when we both kind of like put that on the table, it was like,
thank God. Yeah. Like that sigh of relief. No, that's important.
We both wanted substance. We both wanted to create something of substance.
Yeah.
Where like, even when I did Chat with Achasah, those 2 short episodes, actually they were hour long, but those 2 episodes, it was all about telling someone's story and knowing that there's more to a human than what meets the eye. Like with yourself, where people think you're just a DJ when there's so much more to you.
Both of you have so much more to you, and I'm conscious of time because we could sit here and talk for ages. But if listeners, you want any more gems, go back and listen to previous episodes of Step I Took, because I feel like every guest you guys do delve a little bit more. There is a little bit more about Jevanni's events and coming to Dubai moment in the episode with Kieran. I think both of you actually shared some insightful stuff with Raj Katecha on that episode. And I feel like there was quite a vulnerable time, a moment in the episode with Cairo. So definitely go back and listen to those 3 if you want to actually know more about Jevanni and Achasah, despite them being about other people. You guys had shared quite a lot in those 3. Before we move on to the last traditional question on this podcast, and Achasah, I thought you're not going to want to answer this and you're not going to like this question, but what's next? Like, what's next in the worlds of either of you? It doesn't have to be specific. You don't need to know exactly what it is. We know there's Jev's Coffee Jam coming up, so that's one thing that's coming in the pipeline. But what else is there? Like, I feel like Achasah's answer to this, I'm going to predict, is world domination, because that's what she says about absolutely everything. But, you know, what's next? What haven't you done? You've both done so much. What's something on the list that still needs to be ticked off?
I mean, definitely world domination. Yeah, that's a check. But that is, so when I say world domination, it's because I really believe that with things that I do, it can make a really big impact. Like with me and Sue creating Women Who Thrive, the women that have come into the community, majority, if not all, have left with something that has supported them with their lives. The way that we work with Women Who Thrive, we utilize the 8 pillars of well-being. So that's like, instead of wellness, which I always like, there's a difference between wellness and well-being. Wellness is like your mental wellness, and physical well-being is like everything across the board. Your finances, how you look at the environment, your social capacity, and all of those kinds of things. And with Women Who Thrive, we're supporting women in all these areas between the array of different professionals that we have at all different scales to the different types of events that we're actually putting on, which have substance and give workshops. It's like we're giving so much, and we just expanded to Abu Dhabi this month, yay. Nice. So I would say, and we've been working on an app for over a year now, which is literally a social media app, which is about to transform the way that people, or not people, let's say women right now, look at communities. Like, you know, in the event scene, and all of us, as anyone that's an expat or even coming to Dubai on holiday, you're like, what do I do? Where do I go? And then you see something after the fact. With Women Who Thrive app, everything is going to be conveniently placed in one place where you can join all the communities you like at the same time. If you want to understand about finances, you don't have to wait till every 4 months that we put on a finance event, because the women who run finance communities are going to be there for you to dip into any day you want to. Similar if you're about to be a mum, mothers groups are there. Or if you want to join High Rocks, bam, join the fitness groups. All of those kinds of things conveniently at one place, like WhatsApp, but your communities are in one place. Then with the events, it's like ClassPass for events and communities. All the events are there in one place, discounts one place, everything one place.
And that's going to be the beast.
That is going to be, it has been a beast. It stays being a beast. I am also now a tech bae that has a new hat. And I was like, raw, like this is not as easy as like, yeah, let's make it up. It's going to be. So I would say a lot of my focus is on Women Who Thrive to make sure that we build it to be as incredible as we know it can be. As not just incredible, but actually it's technology that unites people. So many people are online nowadays. So it's like you have to follow the way the world is going. So bring it online, but in a way that brings people offline again, to build connection offline, because you found each other online. So I found you online.
You did find me online.
Found you on LinkedIn, and look how we are now. So yeah, I would say that's like the core of my focus. But then obviously, I do freelance events management. That brings home the bacon. I really do enjoy putting on the fancy influencer events where people go in and like film it. I'm like, I came up with that idea and I put that all together. So I do like that. But then there's a side of me that's like, do I want to be a coach? But we'll talk about that for another time.
Let's leave that there. Jevanni, what's next for you?
So yeah, like I think it's for me, there's a few different strands as well. Like obviously with the podcast, you know, I want to elevate the podcast and, you know, get it to the place where I think it can get to.
AKA number one on the charts.
Yeah, like
all the charts, world domination.
World domination, yeah, literally. And so that's one strand of thing. And then the other strand is in terms of my events is like I've always been someone that kind of puts on events that me where I'm at enjoy, you know. So like when I was younger, like the type of event that I would throw is different to the type of event I throw now. Hence something like Jev's Coffee Jam or the Cookout.
So no £20 Moe.
Damn.
Nah. Those days are. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I had champagne. To be honest with you, I mean, let me not go too much into the talking about like drinking and stuff. But like, I think so. There's obviously the events, you know, continuing to do events that are more, you know, aligned with where I'm at now. Maybe dabbling into kind of fitness events as well. And then, you know, like I only kind of over the last year, I think I used to hide, like certainly when I first moved to Dubai, I used to hide. And when I stepped out onto like radio and stuff, I used to hide the law thing. Like I used to kind of, that was like a hat that I didn't want no one to see.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe it's the imposter syndrome. Like, you know, like, I don't know. Like, I think maybe it's because like, I think I used to look at creatives and sometimes not be intimidated, but be like, oh, do they see me as one of them? Because, you know, like I put like, I put hours in like, you know, studying like how many hours in a day and stuff like, and, you know, like sometimes I was like, because how can a lawyer be creative? So maybe I'm not a creative, you know, and so for a long time, like when I, you know, I wouldn't tell anyone that I was like, even like when I, you know, toured with like KSI and stuff, I was like, do you know what, actually, I don't want to tell these that I'm a lawyer because they might start to look at me differently and think, oh, he's actually maybe smarter than what he actually is. And that
have you like come through that now and realized that like that academic background and stuff is actually like superpower? Yeah, it does make you stand out. Like not all creatives like have a degree, but later on in life, you realize when you're mingling with the creatives and you're like, does anyone on this table have a degree? Like, can anyone help us with this contract? And it's like, actually, hey, I'm the guy that can help us all get paid actually to be creative and actually like get that money. So
yeah, 100%. Like now, like I'll shout about it. Like I've added it back to my bio on Insta, for example, and you know, like you know, like I often in conversations with people will bring that up, you know, because you know, you never know, like just by mentioning it, what opportunities can come off the back of it. So yeah, like there's an element of doing that, but on my terms still. So like with my consultancy and stuff, like consulting people. But yeah, like it's really, you know, like just taking I've got like the weekly events, like what you say, which are like the cash flow and stuff. And it's now like doing projects that excite me again, you know, like doing this coffee jam. I'm excited. I'm going. Who is he? I'm going to the venue and I'm shooting interviews there, like, and you know, doing things that I haven't done with my events in ages. And it's just because I'm, you know, for me, it's passion. Whatever I'm passionate about, I'm gonna focus on.
Got zest for life again. Exciting future for both of you and obviously for the podcast. We like to close this podcast with a tradition, same way we opened it. And that question for both of you, I'm going to start with Jevanni.
I was going to say Achasah because all the time.
Oh, okay. You know what? You're right. You're right. She
just copied me.
Little Miss. Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing. What one rule, if you could make one rule for the whole world to follow, what would it be and why?
To become self-aware. We had someone on here before, or maybe it was at an event that we did, and it was they said that 95% of people think they're self-aware, but actually it's more like 5% of people who actually are self-aware. And I would say to be self-aware, it's not just you in your head going around, because obviously you have the best ideas and everything is weird if it's not your norm. So to become self-aware, I would say you need something like a therapist or a coach or a mentor, someone that isn't like just somebody outside of your bubble you can have open conversations with, who will ask you challenging questions and make you reflect on how you output into this world. Because I think if a lot more people are actually self-aware, the world would be a better place, a nicer place, and a more understanding place of each other. Everyone is fighting to be understood. But how many people feel understood? How many people understand themselves? So yeah, that's my rule.
Jevanni, what's your rule?
And my one's is simple, just to like, if everyone could be humble. And I say that in not because I think everyone's arrogant, but I think humility goes a long way. And you know, like whatever room you're in, if the room was filled with everyone that was humble, then you can have discussions without ego and discussions without, you know, agendas and stuff. And like I think environments that I've stepped into where everyone is just like humble are just the easiest to progress in. So.
Is humble to you then not having like pride get in your way? Because some people feel like humble is like making your achievements smaller than what they are.
No, so like you can still be like proud
honest.
Of but I think it's, you know, like for me, like when I say be humble, I'm trying to give an example, like
don't brag, don't be like
and don't assume you're better than the other person.
Don't assume, to be honest. That's a big part. I think that's a big part of humility is people who assume and then walk in the room and they're just like bang, and it's like, well, hang on a second, actually, if you could bring it down a notch, then you would realize that that's not the room you've walked into.
This is it. It's like if I was like the CEO of like a 100-person organization, for me, like I would see value in the person that is cleaning the toilets in the same way as I see my COO.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Are we allowed to ask you this question?
No.
I think we should.
I think we should.
My one rule. I haven't thought about it, guys.
You've never thought about it. How many episodes have you watched?
I know. I've edited them as well.
I thought about it since the first time we came up with this question.
I feel like every time I hear it,
every
time I hear it, I think about whether or not I would follow it. That's been my thing. Every time I hear it in the room or when I hear it in edit, I'm like, would I do that? Am I that person? And the one that we do get a lot in the episode is about like kindness or honesty. And I do always like those, but I think some of them are kind of hard to implement. And maybe that's just me being like, what rule would I actually do that everyone has to do? Like, how would you know if someone's being humble or not? Like, how would you police that? And that's why the same way we have the world that we are in, because there's no reason why we all can't be kind, humble people, but no one's checking.
Ego takes over.
Yeah. So I try and think every time I hear the question, I'm like, is that realistic? What would I do? And then I go off on a tangent. So have I thought about my rule? You guys are going to have to tune in to my episode of Stepside Talk podcast to find out what my rule for the world is. But thank you guys very much for letting me steal your podcast for the day. Give the listeners a little bit more of an insight into who you both are. There will be numerous clips from this episode of just everything for two people's very separate stories out across social. So if you have enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share one of those to a friend, share the link to this episode and let people know, you know, where you get the steps that you've taken, where you're learning, where you're getting your inspiration for, why you now know what a governess is. Like, share that with the world. Thank you guys. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.